One consistent thing I've seen in the Star Wars community is the level of disdain a lot of fans have for Disney. Now, I personally have my positive and negative opinions on what Disney has done to our beloved franchise since they purchased it from George. With that being said, let's dive into why George Lucas sold Lucasfilms to Disney from the man himself.
Well, it's, I made the decision to sell the company, the Star Wars. I made that decision because I looked at the future. I looked at the fact that I was going to have a baby. I looked at the fact that I was married. And I looked at the fact that I wanted to build a museum. And I looked at the fact that I wanted to make experimental films. So my life was going on a different track. I noticed the last few movies that I'd made were costing the company a lot of money. And I didn't think that was fair to the people that worked there or the company. And so I had made a decision to move ahead on the next Star Wars series, and we were starting to do that.
So you were starting to make the next Star Wars.
Yeah.
You as director of filming.
So, and we were working with a writer. It wasn't quite working out, but I was also, I was also stepping away a little bit and turning things over to Kathy Kennedy. And so what happened was Disney said, or Bob Iger said, if you really want to sell your company, if you're thinking about selling it, because we were talking about retirement and what are you going to do after all this kind of stuff. And he said, well, if you really want to sell it, we're very interested. So that started that ball rolling. And I knew from, and I had the story treatments or, outlines. And we were working on scripts. And so I sold it.
Now, based on those reasons, I understand. And I will say that Disney got off to a rocky start in how they handled the transition. George, for many reasons, took a hands-off approach, and it showed. They chose to write a completely different story than what he laid out as the sequel trilogy. That was a mistake, in my opinion. Moreover, I am sure that's not what he had in mind and what made him quite upset about the sale. I'm also willing to bet that's not what he envisioned for the franchise going forward. But what can you do when you hand over the keys to the Maserati? Huh? They might treat it nice, they might crash it. Either way, you have to accept what they do to your elite vehicle when you give it to them. Stay tuned to my next video where I break down the positives and negatives to the Disney version of Star Wars. And as always, subscribe for more Star Wars content.